It's PSG versus Inter in the Champions League final. And with so many great players on display, we've decided to try and create a combined 11. And for me personally, I have no clue. So what I've done is I've brought Julien and Nicky Bandini across to try and debate their picks. And if they can't decide on who should be in, I will have the deciding vote. Okay? Is that all right, guys?
Yeah,
Let's see what the
perfect.
deciding vote is.
Point of order as well. We're going for a 4-3-3.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Already, I feel Nicky's
It's a
not
bias.
happy, but
It's a
I'm
bias.
happy.
It's okay.
There
there's
is a bias.
We
There's-
can
okay.
acknowledge it.
You can-
We know there's a bias going on
This
here.
is true. You can win it back. You can win it
Okay.
back. In fact, how about this? You can get the first pick.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right.
So we're going to start in goal. Nicky.
That's the hardest pick. It's the hardest
it?
pick. Yeah, it is for me because I think it's still Donnarumma. I think when I think especially about like what they've done to get to this point, what they've done to get to be in this final, it is that save from Martin Odegaard which just really changes that semi-final. It is those saves in the shootout against Liverpool. These are moments that feel so defining. But at the same time, Jan Sommer, you look at that semi-final and think he conceded 6 goals, but still he might have had a case for being man of the match, maybe even in either of the legs. Maybe man of the match is a push given how strong those legs were, but he played great. You look at the numbers, he's got a higher save percentage than Donnarumma this tournament. He's, I think, if you get into the advanced metrics, he's prevented more goals than Donnarumma has. And yet, if I'm being truthful, my heart says it should be Donnarumma.
Wow.
Yeah.
Julien.
I mean, Nicky has said it all really. I've got nothing else to add.
So why are you here?
I'm
Say
here. I don't know.
something.
Like,
Say
I said,
something.
I'm happy. I go. No, I think Donnarumma is how he won people over and won those games for PSG after a slow start like the rest of the team. To win those trophies, you need a big goalkeeper, and he's the big goalkeeper.
Right. Jules, left back. Nuno Mendes, Federico Di Marco.
I'm a big Di Marco fan, I won't lie. And again, we are comparing a fullback and a wing back, so a left back and a left wing back. But I think what Nuno Mendes did against Mo Salah to start with,
Yes.
then against Bukayo Saka in the semi-final. And
Did you think he was going to do that against Salah? Did you expect him to
No.
play that well?
Because what we've seen with him is great potential, great talent, no problem. But at times, like lapse of concentration, as we saw on the Elliott goal, by the way, Salah comes off. He had a great 75 minutes and then switches off. He used to switch off a lot, but since the turn of the year, really, he got more mature in his game, better, more disciplined, better defensively, and there hasn't really been any right winger that has been better, taking the best out of him, really. So for me, Nuno Mendes is right now the best left back in the world.
Yeah, it's another really tough one because Mendes has been brilliant. But I'll make the case for Di Marco, not just because he is an exceptional wing back. I personally think people still don't give him enough credit for how good he is. It's almost like he's got this slightly rough and ready look to his game, the way he plays, that people don't see how good his passing is, how good his vision is. Some of the balls he plays, I think, are really spectacular, and he's right up there in terms of chances created in this tournament as well. But I'm going to go with the emotional pull again for everyone here because I'm Italian and I have to. He's been watching games since he was 3 years old with his dad. He used to take him to the stadium to sleep half the game. You want one guy in your team. It's a Champions League final. You want one guy in your team who feels it like that, who's been with the team all the way.
Right, so we're split on Mendes and Di Marco. Right, who do
Ooh,
I? Which
do you want me to
of
do the
my
drum
friends
roll?
do I?
Shall I do the
Which of
drum
my
roll?
friends is in good favour right now? I think.
Sentimental appeal. You know it's right, Nedum.
Yeah, because
Don't let me down.
there's that bias, and because it's a back four, I'm going to go for Nuno Mendes.
Yes.
And Jules said
It's
he's
rigged.
probably
It's
it
rigged.
definitely is rigged. But Jules said he's one of the best left backs, if not the best left back in the world
Yeah.
right now. So it's tough to have them outside of the team. Let's go to left centre back then. So we have Willian Pacho or Alessandro Bastoni for you, Nicky.
Yeah, Bastoni, I think, is, again, the last 2 rounds have been difficult because you're playing against some of the best attackers in the world. But I think with Bastoni, we're going to get into the midfields where I think PSG have such a brilliant set of ball retainers who just look after the ball and keep care of it. Bastoni does that some of the time for Inter, even from the centre-back position. I think he's number 1 in the whole team for touches and for passes this season. He really has been starting the moves for them, and I think that part of a defence is really important. I think he's one of the best defenders in Europe anyway, and I think I would have him in my team.
I'm a massive Bastoni fan, so I love Pacho, and Pacho is young
That's
as
right.
well.
Defend PSG. Yeah, sure.
No, I love Pacho, and Pacho arriving from Frankfurt in the summer. I don't think anybody saw him reaching this level this season so early. But Bastoni has been incredible, and he's been doing it for many years. For Pacho, this is really the first season where you look at him as a Champions League proper player, that kind of centre backs. Bastoni has done it, so I think Bastoni deserves it.
So how about the centre back partner then? We're looking at Marquinhos or Francesco Acerbi.
So because I've picked Bastoni,
Whoa, hang on.
I think there's all the more reason you have to go with Acerbi, because Marquinhos is another ball player. You want someone
Okay.
who's
What's the reason why you have to go for Acerbi?
because the man marker, like Acerbi is what you want.
I mean, I pick Acerbi. I love Marquinhos.
Okay.
He's my boy. He's been
You picked Acerbi?
yeah, simply because of the story. I will always pick somebody who beat cancer twice, and he's 37. Doesn't look like a footballer.
37 is a good age, by the way. It's a good age.
37 is a good age.
It's a good age.
People who are 37 are great people.
Great
right
people.
now.
I am 38, but 37 is a good age.
I used to be 37 not that long ago, really. You beat cancer, you're in my team. I think for me, it's as simple as that. I love Marquinhos, but even Marquinhos would forgive me for picking Acerbi ahead of him.
So
And that goal, come on.
So the
And
two of
that
you,
goal.
yeah, it's a nice goal. So the two of you go on Acerbi, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So how about right back then? I think this might be a bit easier. Jules, we're going to go for Hakimi or Dumfries.
Yeah, and Dumfries has been great going forward, maybe more than defensively, but going forward, he's been key in the two semi-finals, really, and in the quarterfinals. But I think Achraf Hakimi is the best right back in the world, former Inter player, of course. But the way that has improved under Luis Enrique, the new level that he's reached, even with Morocco at the World Cup, he was incredible in 2022. He's just a phenomenal player with so much energy, and he can run so much, but he's so smart, so good on the ball. And yes, defensively, you could look at a few things that maybe are not perfect, but for everything else, he's the best.
Yeah, I also did go with Hakimi, and I've been feeling guilt about it because we
Rightly
did
so as well, by the
send
way.
these into the producers before we started. I've been feeling guilt about it ever since, because Dumfries is having a crazy spring. And I mean, again, if you want to talk about players who got their team to the final, you can't look past him. He dominated in those semi-final against Barcelona. He was so influential. But if you're looking at the bigger picture of the whole season and the fact that you forced us into this back
Yes,
four,
I have.
maybe I'd take Hakimi ahead of him. But I do think Dumfries...
It's close, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really close one.
Nicky, Fabian Ruiz or Çalhanoğlu?
It's going to sound like I keep going for the Inter
Oh,
players.
if
It's
it,
gonna
it,
get-
it sounds that way
it's gonna
because
get-
you
have
are.
to.
It's going to get different in a second, but of the three
Okay.
midfielders, this is the one where I went Inter, because it's Çalhanoğlu, who I think is another of those players who I think maybe like people don't put quite enough respect on his name. I think he puts maybe too much respect on his name sometimes. It's
Okay.
been a couple of years that he's been saying, listen, I'm the best regista in the whole world, the best deep lying playmaker. But I think he is right up there, actually. And I think that when you look at key moments in, again, the semi-final and the quarter-final, he had an assist and a goal in the semi-final. He stood up when his team needs him to. He takes set pieces for his team very well. I think he is absolutely the one who makes things tick in the Inter midfield. And I think you notice, even if you want to go back 2 years to the semi-final they lost against Manchester City when he didn't have such a great game, huge part of that was to do with injuries forcing him to play in a higher position up the pitch. When he gets to do what he's best at, sitting in the middle of that three, I think he's really, really
Listen,
good.
I remember that final against City vividly because I was very anxious for a very long time because they're a really good team.
Yeah.
Jules.
I mean, I think it's a little bit unfair to have a matchup of Çalhanoğlu and Ruiz.
I can
agree.
only
I agree.
apologise. I can only apologise.
Yeah,
I agree.
I will
blame
do better.
me on
next
you,
time.
Nedum.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm still going to choose Ruiz because of the balance that he offers to a midfield, any midfield, whether the Spanish midfield, Spain midfield we saw at the Euros, how outstanding he was, or the PSG midfield currently with Vitinha and Neves. I think you need a smart player like this in any team, really. And for me, he brings the balance, he compensates everything, he can run forever, he's very smart, he can score a goal now and again, as we saw against Arsenal in the semi-final second leg. So Fabian, and also people say he's as handsome as me. So Fabian.
Anyway, moving on.
Fabian,
So Jules,
you're in my team, my brother.
I'm under pressure again here. Fabian Ruiz or Hakan Çalhanoğlu. I'm gonna go for Çalhanoğlu actually. Yeah, I see your case, Jules.
Yeah, thank
but
you.
I don't care, so I'm gonna go for Çalhanoğlu.
I can hear that.
So moving on to the midfield counterparts here. So João Neves, Jules, or Henrik Mkhitaryan.
I think Neves has been one of the revelations, if not the revelation of this Champions League campaign. I know he played there very young with Benfica the season before, but still at 19 to arrive and put the performances that he did, especially in the knockout stages where he's tiny, but yet against Arsenal he wins every aerial duels. He's there, he recovers the ball everywhere. He's so smart. He comes from a big football background. His dad was a really good coach, also Coach Gonzalo Ramos. They come from a football family, and I think you could see the football IQ just dripping everywhere on him. And I think I just love that. I think Mkhitaryan is great, especially at his age to still have the activity that he has. But for me, Neves is an outstanding player this season.
Yeah, I basically agree with Jules on this. All I would say is I do think we're speaking to a majority British audience. Mkhitaryan's late career has been really impressive. He's playing at a level, I think, much beyond what people were seeing at the end in the Premier League. He has been really good, but I think Neves has been something else. That ball winning as well as that ability to protect the ball is really, really impressive.
When he moved over to Italy, did you think he was going to have the impact that he's had across these last few years?
No, and I think it's a huge testament to one thing I don't know if we're discussing today, which is the manager. I think Simone Inzaghi has done an extraordinary job with so many players in this group at seeing what they can do and making sure he gets the most out of that.
Yeah, we're not going to pick managers today. That might get a little bit passive. So the final midfielder then, Nicky, we're going to go for Vitinha or Nicolo Barella.
Yeah, and I'm taking Vitinha as well. I think both of Vitinha and Neves do this so well. When you watch them in possession, it's just how are you ever getting that ball back off them? How are you ever having that back off them? And the way they combine. I'm worried with the way I've composed my midfield that you've got three players who are all going to want a lot of the ball, and maybe that's too much. But you know what? I think they'll figure it out. That's a serious thing.
So what would you say Barella's strengths are then?
So Barella's going to give you a bit more of that box-to-box energy. He's going to give you a bit more of that, that furious, get stuck into them energy sometimes. He's also someone who I think is very, very vocal on the pitch, and sometimes that's a two-edged sword because he can be unbelievably bad at showing when he's angry at everyone.
Okay.
But he's got that combativeness that I think certainly, look, they're all great players. I'm not knocking him, but I think Vitinha's been at another level this season.
Yeah, I agree with Nicky. I think the Vitinha that maybe Wolves fans saw for a season when he was much younger is different. Even the Vitinha that PSG fans saw last season for most of that season is completely different now. To have been repositioned in front of the back four instead of in a more number 8 position like he was before has changed everything. He's so composed under pressure. We saw at Anfield, for example, where they just could not get the ball off him. He was everywhere and so perfect and so clean on the ball. It's impressive to have a number 6 like that can just dictate the pace of a game with almost never losing the ball.
Okay, so now it's going to get interesting. Okay, so I'm going to name 6 attackers for you.
Ooh.
And you need to pick a front 3, and just to be extra mean, I need to know which position they'll be played in that 3 as well. Okay? So we've got Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, Desiree Doué, Bradley Barcola, Marcus Thuram, and Lautaro Martinez. Who wants to go first?
You go, Nicky.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Just take that responsibility.
No. I think it's easy. You can
Yeah.
pick one out of 6, surely.
It's do you want to do one at a time rather than 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Okay, so since I'm speaking for Italy, let's do the one that I think is definitely in there from Inter, which is Lautaro. I think he's had, well, I don't think it's clear, he's had his best tournament in the Champions League by miles. I think I've come back to this idea a few times in this of standing up in the big moments. He stood up in the big moments against Bayern Munich. He did it again, even on 6 days rest from hamstring injuries, went and scored that opening goal in the second leg against Barcelona. I think he has been very, very deserving of all the recognition he's getting this season, because he hasn't always actually delivered like this in the Champions League, but this season he has been really on top of his game, and he scored some really fun goals as well. The first one against Bayern Munich was off the outside of the boot, something else.
So this is him playing as a 9.
I think this is the complication.
Can he play on his own?
I think he has to play as a 9 if we're doing a 3, because I don't think you can put him outside, whereas there are other players you can put outside. But then that does immediately raise a question about a certain someone who's moved to number 9 this season and has been playing ridiculously well there.
Okay, does this also mean that Marcus Thuram will not get a mention anymore?
I'm going to struggle to get Thuram into mine, but you don't want me to tell you my full 3 right away.
No, Jules,
yeah.
please, let's
Lautaro is just, I think, a very underrated player, and I still don't really understand.
You think so,
yeah, I think so. I don't think he's ever really mentioned amongst the top 5 best strikers in the world, for example, maybe because he plays in the 2. And it's quite rare, and you do wonder, can he play on his own up front in another team than Inter, in a team that just plays with a lone striker?
And I will say this season, when Marcus Thuram isn't there, he looks worse, always. Yeah. So it is a big difference when he's there when he's not.
But I guess you play with Taremi or Arnautovic, which is not Marcus Thuram. And I love Marcus, and he's not going to be in the team. Don't be too disappointed. Your dad still won the World Cup. So. And the Euros against Italy as well, by the way, Marcus, so cheer up. No, more seriously, Lautaro has to be there.
On the left for you?
On the left for me, a player that Nicky knows well and that all Italians know well, and Inter Milan players and coaching staff know very well in Kvaratskhelia, because if we look back at what changed for PSG after that very slow, stuttering start, they clicked in that Man City game. Sorry, Ned. But they also clicked later.
I can't be catching strays here.
No, I'm just saying.
When
I mentioned Man City and it's another defeat. Kvaratskhelia arrived in January, could not play in the 2 last game of the league phase, but after that has been pretty much incredible. Really, the best goal that he scored was probably the one that was disallowed against Liverpool. But in all those games, the key games where you need your big players to step up, he has stepped up, and he's been an incredible addition to the team. And I think on that left-hand side, when you have a player that can go inside, on the outside, left foot, right foot, shooting or dribbling and dribbling again, or crossing the ball, it's just perfect.
I'm starting to think there's a very strong chance we've picked exactly the same 3 because I agree completely. I think Kvaratskhelia it's the reason why PSG have been through the knockout stages at a different level. Not the whole reason why they've been at a different level, but a huge part of the reason they've been at a different level to where they were earlier in the season. He's such an unusual player. He's really, I think, especially when teams aren't used to seeing him, very unpredictable. He's so tricky with the ball, which feels like it's that whole team, everyone who can get on the ball and just protect it really well. I think he's really special. So yeah, I want him on the left.
And he defends, which is not the case for many wingers, as we know. And you would have played with wingers who never helped you defensively.
Yeah, that is correct. It's been interesting how you've basically agreed with the majority of this team. And I've got a feeling you're going to agree with the next position, because I'm going to say, I'm just going out there, I think you've both picked Ousmane Dembele.
Shock.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think he's the player of 2025 for me, in the way that he was not the player of 2024, and nobody saw 2025 like that from him, because I don't know, you look at Rafinha, he's been consistent all season. Lamine probably the same in what they've done. Lautaro the same. You look at those big players, but for him to have had disappointing or maybe a bit underwhelming first half of the season, and then just an incredible second half of the season, the transformation has been wonderful. I don't remember many players who would go through such a contrast between 2 sides of the same season. And for that, his repositioning as a number 9, of course, is the key here, and it's a bit of a genius choice and decision from Luis Enrique. But credit to Ousmane to have taken up that role, the leadership, and then working on his finishing, working on his understanding on the game in that position, and making it all look so easy, and scoring a lot of goals and assisting a lot.
Did you sound like a PSG fan then?
Me? PSG fan?
Un petit peu?
Un petit peu. Rare French.
Yeah, I don't know how to argue with it. I want to bring his name up again, Nedum, just because you said it. I think Marcus Thuram has been so good again this season. And I think even again in these knockout games, you think about back heel assist for that Lautaro goal we talked about against Bayern Munich. Yeah. Then a back heel flick goal against Barcelona. He's been so good. But how do I put him ahead of Dembele, who's scored however many goals it is this season? I can't remember, but it's over 30, isn't it?
Yeah,
and who has, I think, again, as Julien was just saying, really taken responsibility in a different way this season. I think there was that moment, wasn't there, in December when Enrique dropped him and said, sort your head out, basically. Yeah. And he has. And he's come back and produced this season that none of us saw coming. I think those two, him and Lautaro, I think, are almost non-negotiable. And to me, Kvaratskhelia is as well. So I don't know how anyone else gets in.
Okay, so I'm going to read through the team one last time. Any regrets, feel free to stick your hand up, say something. Fair enough. Maybe I'll change it, maybe I won't.
Okay.
But we're going to go. So Donnarumma's in goal.
Yes.
Mendes at left back. Bastoni centre back alongside Acerbi. Hakimi at right back.
Yeah.
Çalhanoğlu. João Neves. Vitinha in midfield.
Yeah.
On the left, we had Kvaratskhelia. We had Lautaro Martinez. And we had Ousmane Dembele.
That's a pretty amazing team.
Julien did put a face at Çalhanoğlu. I saw it. But
it's just like, just I don't want this team to lack balance. And I feel like it might, but it's okay. I understand the pick of the judge and of Nicky.
But you know, I think you've done very well there.